Hello, we're back today looking at another xTool product, and today we're going to look at the xTool F1. The F1 has dual lasers in it. It has a 10 watt diode laser and it has a 2 watt IR laser. And this device is what they call a Galvo laser, and Galvo is short for galvanometer, which is basically a machine that uses an electrical impulse to move a wire coil. And in the case of this machine, the wire coils are connected to mirrors. So rather than the laser head moving on an XY axis like a standard CNC or your desktop lasers, this laser head is stationary and the mirrors move to direct the laser beam to the work surface and move it according to the code that's put in. One advantage of a Galvo laser is that it is incredibly fast. It's very small movements of these mirrors that direct the laser beam to the work surface, and so it can move incredibly fast, and also the accuracy of this is pretty ridiculous. The published accuracy from xTool is 0.00199. That's 199 100,000ths of a millimeter. We can go over a few of the things that come with the F1. You can notice on the base of it, there's a hole in the base of it, and that's handy if you want to set the machine on top of a larger item like a table or a cutting board to do some engraving onto that. The little square insert that you see fills that space, and that allows you to set something in there. There's also a little right angle attachment that screws into place to help get a constant point for putting workpieces. It comes with a standard power supply with a barrel connector that plugs in the back of the machine. There's also a little package of different items to do testing. We'll go through those here in just a minute. This is a little base for doing cutting. It holds your work up and allows a place for the laser to pass through and actually cut through pieces. This is an exhaust hose. Quickly connects to the back of the machine and can exhaust smoke and gases either outdoors or into one of xTool's desktop air purifiers that we'll see here shortly. We can go over this machine a little bit. On the front of the machine, it's just a handle to raise up the protective cover. Here you can see that opening for doing engraving onto a larger object like a table. And this is that insert that fits in there. It also comes with this little reference corner that can be screwed in place in any orientation. Nice for doing repeatable things if you want to continually put a business card or something and just keep putting them in. You can reference and get them in the same spot. This is that cutting surface. Holds the work up off the surface so that the laser can cut through. And that fits right in there. So on this side of the machine, this really is the main dial, and this raises and lowers the cutter head. It also shows a color, lights up a different color behind it, and those colors are described right here, explaining what each one means. Usually it's blue. For most xTool products, will show that it's connected to the software and is ready to go. It's also a push button, and by pushing the button, you can give the machine different commands. Many of these commands are also duplications of what can be done through the software. So this is the framing button, very useful. This is also typically triggered from the software, but you can do it here, and it basically shoots a little quick silhouette of where the job is going to be on the surface and the size of it. So super handy feature. This is the USB-C. This is where it's connected to your computer to connect to the software. This is a little proprietary plug, and this is for using a rotary tool. If you use the xTool rotary, the RA1, I think it is, or the RA2, and this machine will support that. It can turn and do rotary jobs, so that connects there. In the back of the machine, you have the exhaust port, on-off switch, the barrel connector for the power. This is an unused USB-C. This is where the air purifier connects, so the machine can turn it on and turn it off. And this is a USB, just a standard USB, and that has a little key dongle that goes in. The machine won't run without that dongle, and that comes with it. So that goes in there. On this side of the machine, all there is this stop button, and these are pretty universal for CNCs and laser engravers. It's emergency stop, push it in, cuts the power, the whole thing turns off. To reactivate it, you just turn it and the power comes back on. And that's really it. I'm going to connect it and get it going in the software, and then we'll run some engraving on it. After you turn on the machine, the Creative Space software will detect its presence, and the machine will beep, and it'll show up here in the top that it's connected. And I'm not going to go over a whole bunch in this software. It's the same software that runs all the xTool machines. You'll see when it does connect, this workspace is the space that's represents this space in the actual machine. So when you place your engraving job in here, you can put it on whatever part of this workspace you want. So to focus, you can see this is just a scrap piece of cherry wood. You can see the two dots, and basically you just turn the dial until those dots are on top of each other, and that's your correct focal point. So over here in the software, you can see the logo is in the top left corner. So if we hit the framing button, and this again can be done in the software down here, if we hit the framing button, you can see where it shows that it's going to be. So we'll have to move that since we're engraving onto a circle. Grab the design and we're going to put it right in the middle, and it has these little reference marks that light up when you're centered. So now if we hit the framing, it shows it right in the center of the workspace, right in the center of this workspace. So I selected wood coaster. This is a piece of cherry wood, so it should be pretty close. We'll see. It gives its own settings once you select the material, and then you can of course change that. You can change any of the power settings for any of the layers. You can change the speed. We'll leave it like it is, set for the blue light, the diode laser, and whenever you're ready, you hit process. It gives you a quick preview. You hit start, and the machine beeps, and then on the dial, that multifunction dial, there's a flashing blue light. You push that, and it starts the job. After the job ends, the exhaust fan runs for a little while longer to exhaust all the fumes. I opened this up. You don't want to do that, but I had the protective glasses on. I wanted the camera to get a look at the engraving job to see it better and show you just how fast and accurate this thing is. So yeah, this needs to stay down while it's running. But you can see just the clarity and how crisp and clean this engraving job is. But we're going to go over and engrave on a bunch of different things. We'll use the IR laser for some metal items, get those set up, and continue with that. These are some aluminum business cards. These came with the F1 as just some sample things and a few different colors. We're going to engrave on a black one and then a purple one. And it does a really crisp, clean job on really all of these items, but the business cards I thought looked really nice. The Creative Space software has hundreds of pre-entered materials to engrave or cut or score, and whenever you select one of those, it automatically sets the settings as far as speed and power. Those can be changed if you need different settings, but they kind of give you a place to start. And in the case of these items, I just used the settings that Creative Space input whenever I selected the material, and everything came out perfect. This is a metal dog collar tag, and you can see this one takes a little bit longer to engrave, and the engraving comes out as dark letters. Turned out really nice and crisp,
and took probably maybe 4 minutes to engrave this. Next, we're going to do some cutting. I selected 3mm plywood in the creative space settings, and it automatically set the power and the speed when I chose cut. So we'll let this run and see how it turns out. I sped up this video. This probably took about 5 minutes to make this cut, and you can see right here is where I slow it back down to real time. Here's a piece of 3mm black acrylic, and as you can see, it does a real nice job with this as well. Next is a slate coaster. These are really inexpensive items that people buy on Amazon or wherever and like to engrave them and then sell them, make them custom for people, and it does a beautiful job with that. I just selected Stone Coaster in the Creative Space software. It made all the setting adjustments and I let it run. Just another reminder to always have the green shield down whenever the F1 is running. This provides protection for your eyes from even reflected laser, which can damage your eyes. So always have the protective cover down when the F1 is running.
A pretty cool accessory that xTool offers with the F1 is this slide extension. And basically what it is it's a slide that moves, attaches to the F1, and it's able to move your material underneath the laser head. So it provides a larger work area. So we're going to get this opened up and installed, and then I'll show you how it works. As you'd expect from them, everything is really well packed and protected. So this is a slide extension. So that gives you much larger workspace, and when you add this device to the F1 in the software, the appropriate workspace opens up on the screen, and so you can fill this with your material, and it moves underneath the laser head as you engrave. Included with the slide are a couple of clamps. There are 3 of these kind, and these are handy. They slide along these ridges, this spring loaded, and then you can hold your work down with this little thing. You can also use these as stops. You put some material here, you can slide that up against it, put another one over here. You can turn this to hold it down. Lots of options. And there are 1, 2, 3 of these. It also comes with 2 of these clamps, and these can go in these can go anywhere really. They can slide up here in this little T slot, provide that. They also can go into, be tightened down in here, and there's a spring loaded, so you can put up a material against it and use this spring loaded pad to hold your material against another stock. So pretty versatile way to hold your material to this slide extension. Also comes with a tool. This is for tightening it onto the machine, and a connection cable. This plugs into the same port that I showed earlier that the rotary can plug into. This plugs into that as well. This is the ruler. It slides into the front of this, and you can lock it down anywhere along. So in the Creative Space software, if you grab this first drop down here and select laser extension, you can see it changes the workspace of the machine, and it now matches the slide extension. So there's a couple of configurations that have to be done when you first install this. If you look up here, it says follow calibration guide strictly before using the slide extension, and there's a little go button. So if you click go, it walks you through every step in getting this set up. First step is to align the right edge of this ruler to the 0 on this slide extension. So put it at the 0, tighten it down. Next it says align the vertical line on the side of the slide extension with the edge of the removable base plate of the F1. So the next step is to line up the slide extension with this second white line. You can see these 3 white lines here. The second one is going to line up with the front edge. These 2 little white dashes on the slide extension are going to center it left and right with the edge of the insert. Okay. The next step, it says to move this into the workspace and set the focus. Okay. Once that's done, you click on next. Now it says to just lightly tighten the screws on the left and right side of the slide extension. So if you move this over, you can see these screws here. Just lightly tighten that one. Move the slide all the way this way. And lightly tighten this one. So once we have those screws started but not tightened fully, we'll click next and go to the laser calibration. When you do that, it's going to move the slide over to the right and reflect a line. What we want to do is make sure that line is perfectly lined up on the white line that's on the ruler. And if it's not, this thing can be turned until it is. It's kind of nice. The line reflects off of the white line that's on the ruler, and it really is quite apparent when it's perfectly lined up. Once that's lined up, we can tighten this left screw all the way down. And then we click next. And now it moves it, and we can tighten the right screw.
So that's the installation and calibration of the extension slide, and it's ready to use. To set up an engraving job with the extension slide, it's really the same as without it. The workspace on the Creative Space software, you can fill that entire workspace up with your engraving job, and then when you hit framing, the little dial that you typically focus with, that is what you do the framing with. And as you turn that dial, the slide moves across and it'll frame exactly where your engraving job is going to go. So the extension slide is not only useful for engraving jobs that are larger than the standard F1 workspace, it's also really handy for batch jobs if you want to batch out several of the same things or several of the same materials but with different things on each of them. So as we're doing here, a couple of coasters, really handy for that. You can set it up, let it run, plug in 4 more of your whatever your material is, let it run again.
We can take a quick look at this desktop air purifier from xTool. Basically, it's just a canister with an air inlet at the top. That air filters through this filter cartridge and then exits out the bottom. Connecting it's pretty simple. There's a USB plug, plugs in the back of the filter, and then it goes into this spot that we showed earlier, this USB-C plug right next to the USB dongle. There's a power supply, standard barrel plug, and then this flexible pipe that connects from the F1 to this top port on the filter. Whenever you use the USB-C connection between the filter and the F1, it puts it into what they call a united mode, and when that's connected, this thing will automatically turn on when the F1 runs. And when the F1 is done with its job, it'll shut off. If you don't use that, there's a manual switch on the front. You can just turn it on and turn it off manually.
And that's really it. There's not a whole lot to it. It's just a nice filter, allows you to use the F1 indoors without having to worry about ejecting the smoke outside. So that's my review of the xTool F1. As you would expect from xTool, this machine is as nice as the rest of their lineup. It really is a very well-made machine. The fit and finish are exceptional. As far as using the machine, it worked flawlessly for me. I had no issues at all with the setup or use of the F1. Super fun to use, and I really love the speed at which it can engrave. I'm going to put an affiliate link down in the description of this in case you'd like to take a look at the xTool products. And I'd just like to take a minute to say how much I appreciate those of you who have used the affiliate link over the past few years. Whenever you use that link, it really does help support this YouTube channel, and I just can't thank you enough for that. I really do appreciate it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please reach out with any questions or comments. I do try to respond to all of them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.